Hi, everyone. This is the Perspective with Viv podcast. My name is Viv, and welcome to the show. Today's title is Witchy Business with Jeni Archer. And Jeni Archer is a spiritual alchemist, professional witch, tarot reader, and certified hypnotherapist and past life regressionist. Her practice, Hearth Magic, is located in Peterborough, New Hampshire. She offers in person and remote sessions, free online courses, in person classes and workshops, book clubs, and aura photography. Wow. Jenny is passionate about education and empowerment, how her clients can shift through their lives through uncovering their own inner wisdom and helping them learn to listen to themselves most of all. So, hi, Jenny. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. So let's dive into the questions because
Yeah.
I'm very excited. You call yourself a spiritual alchemist and professional witch. For
Yes.
those who may clutch their pearls at that, what does being a witch mean to you?
So, being a witch, I've reclaimed that word on purpose to take some of the fear out of it. So, all it really means is someone who is aware of and in control of their own energy and who can sense and work with the energies around them. So, it's just about being really aware of both yourself and others around you, and then how to work within that. So it's not so much about making things happen as it is noticing what's happening and following the path.
Beautiful. Just a straightforward answer because sometimes people are just like, oh my gosh, witch, witch. And it's like, no,
Yes.
this is the 12th century. Witch
Yes.
is not something that a person that you burn at the stake. A witch is a powerful person in tune with the energies around them. So thank you for explaining it for my listeners.
Yeah.
How did your path begin? Was there a defining moment that made you realize you were walking the witch's path?
So, from the very first memory I have, there was a spirit that would stand by my bed every night, and I didn't know what it was. And I was raised in the Southern Baptist tradition, so that would normally teach it was a bad thing, but I just knew I didn't want to play with it, so I would just pretend it wasn't there. And that happened every night of my life until I was 9. And then at 9 years old, it actually followed me somewhere other than my house. And I said, that's enough. No, thank you. You're not allowed here. Go away. And then I never saw it again. But my daughter saw it. So I've since read about other children kind of across the world seeing the same thing. It was had a black hood with red eyes, and it didn't do anything. It just was there. And children across the world who grow up to have intuitive abilities often see this thing. So it was kind of cool to learn it wasn't just me. But my daughter was so very different because she was raised pagan. So when it came into her room, I didn't ever tell her about it. She came to me and told me, and I said, well, were you scared? She goes, no, I told her to go stand in the corner. So very different generationally how we dealt with it.
I understand that perfectly. So, witchcraft is often misunderstood, equal parts feared and fetishized. What are the most common misconceptions you hear, and how do you lovingly debunk them?
So, what I hear most often, or what I heard more where I was raised, because I grew up in Texas and I'm in New Hampshire now, but it was, that you're consorting with demons, that you're a tool of Satan. And what I've always explained to people is witches believe in neither of those things. So, of course, that's not what we're doing. And all we're trying to do is empower and give voice to the people around us and help them learn to listen to their inner voice. And that's scary for people who want to control, right? So I try to help people understand when they come to me with those, I hear you, I hear that fear, but understand that it's a fear that there's someone out there that you can't control or classify. And if you just get rid of that fear, it's just someone out in the world who's in their own power.
Beautiful, so beautiful. Because once again, it's about somebody in tune with their power and somebody that teaches other people through their practice how to be powerful. And it's just honestly, it's the best kind of way of being, if you ask me.
Yes, agreed.
Why do you think more people are turning to witchcraft and alternative spiritual paths today, especially women?
So there's actually astrological reasoning behind this. So we flipped from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius a few years ago. The age of Pisces was all divine masculine, which we needed. Divine masculine is needed. We need both, right? I think we just might have overshot a little bit. So when we switched into Aquarius, that's the feminine divine. And so now this is waking up in all of these women first. And I'm seeing it start to wake up in gender nonconforming people and some men as well. Like it's all starting to wake up in this way, because what was supported under Pisces, this hustle culture, this name it and claim it and go out and get it, and all of this is no longer supported energetically. Instead, we're looking at community, we're looking at empathy, we're looking at compassion, we're looking at connection, all of this divine feminine energy that's rising. And that's what's being supported universally, astrologically. And so I'm watching it play out in my practice. In fact, I had a client today that came in that was ready. She's ready to get in touch with her divine feminine. And I see that over and over. It's just phenomenal to watch.
Yes, I totally agree. This age of Aquarius has allowed people that are really in tune spiritually to rise up and to come forward as leaders, especially women. And they're more in tune with who they are and sure of who they are. And they trust their voices more, which is something that we as women, we experience where we our throat chakra is attacked and is blocked, and this time in this age we're rising up, we're speaking, we're coming together, and like you said, communing, because Aquarius
Yes.
is about community, but it's also about being a trendsetter, being ahead of your time. So I feel like now women that were ahead of their time before, that were isolated, are now at the forefront, and I just think that is so revolutionary,
Yes, it's gorgeous.
honestly. So you're also a tarot reader. Can you
Yeah.
explain how tarot actually works, especially for those who think it's just about predicting the future?
So the best part is I can't explain how tarot works because no one really knows.
I love that.
The best we can figure is there's some kind of energetic exchange that's happening between the person reading and the person sitting for the reading. And through that energetic exchange, the cards that come out give messages. So I also teach tarot, and the way I explain it to my students is it's a foreign language. It's a language all of its own. It's not just this card means this and this card means this. Yes, that's true. That's the basics. But then you have to add in intuition. You have to add in how they're speaking to each other, how they aspect each other, where they're lying. So all of this together creates this beautiful language. And I generally call it, it's just like a cracking open. So people will sit down for a reading with me. I may throw one or two spreads, but that cracks open what they really need to talk about. And now we can actually commune in a way. It almost gives them permission to say what they need to say and be vulnerable in that space.
Definitely, I totally agree. And as a tarot reader myself, I can't truly explain it. I just always say the cards will tell you what you need to know. I'm just a conduit. And I love what you
Exactly.
said. You know, when I first started tarot, it was about learning the meanings, the definitions.
Yes.
But then you move beyond that. It's like the
Mhm.
cards speak to you, your intuition comes in, the symbology changes. You may have a general definition for something, but then you have your own definition for a certain card. And what I love about tarot readers is that we're all different. A
Yes.
card, like let's say the Eight of Swords, may mean something to me that may be positive, but for you, it may mean something that is not necessarily negative, but it's just entirely different from a different perspective. So it's just a beautiful, like you said, a language, a craft, an art. I love
Yes.
tarot so much, honestly. Like it definitely allows you to tap in deeper to yourself, but
Yeah.
it's also beautiful when you see what it does to the person you're reading for, how they
Oh,
open
yeah.
up. They may be guarded at first, but when you really tap in, oh my gosh, they open up, they unravel, they share. And I just love when they feel safe enough to say what is really going on with them. So I think tarot
Yes.
is just a beautiful space.
Yes, it's a great way to offer validation to people because often they'll finish a tarot reading and go, "Well, I knew that. I just needed someone else to say it so that I could feel like I was right." There's that validation piece. I think that's so important.
Definitely, yes. What do you say to people who are scared of tarot or think it invites unwanted spirits?
So, I also have a phrase that I give to all my clients, "You have the body, you make the rules." So, it doesn't matter what shows up, first of all. You have the body, you can decide whether you want it to be anywhere near you or not. Now, you start going into astral realms, doing some deep journeying, going into their space. That's different, different rules. But here, nothing can touch you without your permission, first of all. So find your audacity. Secondly, tarot is just a way to communicate. So everything I can do with tarot cards, I can do just sitting across the table from you. It makes it a little bit easier. It makes it a little bit faster of a process. So there is nothing inherently evil in anything that is done. It's all about the energy that you're bringing to it.
Yes, that's a beautiful answer because tarot is just a tool and we are the conduit. It's not something that is calling or summoning any spirit. It's all about intuition and energy and really the subconscious of who you're reading for. And that's what makes it
Yes.
beautiful. The fact that you can't really break it down in a scientific way to people, it's about really just the beauty of intuition and trusting, honestly. So I like your
Yeah.
answer. Do you have a favorite tarot card or one that keeps showing up in your life?
I do. I have two favorite tarot cards actually. Strength and Judgment. So, one of the reasons that I read off of the Robin Wood Tarot deck is the imagery on the Judgment card, because what Judgment has come to mean in my readings when it shows up, the imagery on that particular deck is a woman standing in a cauldron, completely nude with her arms out in a power position and a phoenix rising behind her. And it's this symbol of, I find myself worthy, so I will not make myself smaller for your comfort. So that imagery is so, so important to me. And then strength, because to me, strength represents the epitome of the feminine divine. I don't need to yell to show you my strength. I can simply be and sit in my power, and the world will move around me and conform to me because I know who I am. So that kind of strength is so important.
Wow, beautiful. And if I was to answer it for me, I'd say my favorite cards are the High Priestess and
Mm,
sometimes the Wheel of Fortune and the Empress. Yes,
yes.
yes. The High
Yes, that.
Priestess because it really represents who I am as a person. And the Empress, because it teaches you to receive. You don't need to do.
Yeah.
Just sit back, relax, and the world will come to you. You
Yeah.
have the power in your inner world. Focus on that. Make that, send that message from your internal world, and then the external would change to suit that. That's how I depict
Absolutely.
it. It's beautiful. And then
Absolutely.
Wheel of Fortune is just a positive card, honestly. You're
Yeah.
starting a new cycle and it's going to have an abundant outcome. And I always love when we speak about fated events and destined events as well, and it being written, things like that.
Yeah. And I love the Wheel of Fortune comes in so often in my readings. It's something that someone has put into their plan. This is a karmic point in your life that you were meant to see, that you were meant to visit. And this is a chance for you to shift your path if you're ready.
Very profound. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk past life regression because I
Yeah.
love past life regressions. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's
I've read
awesome.
books on past life regressions, the Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr.
Mhm.
Brian Weiss, and
Yes.
the only thing that's real is love. Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
could go on about past life
Oh, yeah.
regression. So you're trained in hypnotherapy and past life regression. What's the
Yes.
difference between that and traditional talk therapy?
So traditional talk therapy is dealing with your conscious mind. So it's dealing with everything, with all of your belief systems and your barriers and your fears and everything still in place around it as protection or armor for you. So hypnotherapy will actually take you into the subconscious mind where you're still aware. You're not going to divulge anything that you don't want to divulge, but it gives you a different way in and a different perspective with those walls lowered so you can see what's actually happening at the root of the issue.
Wonderful. So is past life regression real in the way people assume it is? And more importantly, why does it matter?
So it doesn't matter. That's the beautiful thing. What is important is that your brain is giving you, your spirit is giving you a story for a reason. So why? And if it's not real, here's my only pitch on my personal belief in why it's real, but I don't require my clients to believe in it. I have some that come to me that think it's all just metaphor. Great, fine. That take what lesson comes to you because it's coming to you for a reason. But the people that I help guide through past life regression under that deep hypnosis, they're having, we call them abreactions. So they're having visceral responses where they're crying, they're sobbing, they're calling out to their loved ones. They see their soul group for the first time and they're sobbing with relief and joy and they're begging me, no, I don't want to go yet. I don't want to come back yet. Hold on, just let me stay a little longer. It doesn't matter how active your imagination is, and I have a very active imagination. You can sit in meditation and you can't put yourself in that spot unless you get into an actual hypnosis state and travel. to the reality of that. So I can sit and think about someone who was a child of mine in a past life. I'm not going to have the same emotional response as I do when I'm in that past life itself. And I'm face to face with that child, looking in their eyes again. And I feel that in my spirit. That is kind of what that and Dr. Newton's work. I don't know if you've read Journey of Souls. I highly suggest that one. So I was trained by one of his star students, which was a privilege for me. But he started out as a just a typical conventional hypnotherapist who was doing regression through current lives, current incarnations. But his clients kept falling back into these past lives. And he's like, well, I don't believe this, but I'm going to go ahead and run with it because it fixed this guy's knee. It fixed this lady's throat. We're just going to let it happen. Whatever they're believing works. But then they all started falling into this space, this life between lives space, where we plan our next incarnation. And it didn't matter what their demographics were, their religion, their origins, their families, whatever, they're all describing the same space. So that was when he started paying attention. So to me, that was what really brought it home to me of, oh, I think this is actually a place we go that we play. And then I had my own where I went to a place before I ever read his book that was exactly what I saw was what was in his book. So to me, it's absolutely real, but I'm not attached to anyone believing that. If it helps you, it helps you. That's what matters.
I like that. There's a detachment in you helping people to heal through things
Mm.
when you're doing that. Because I think a lot of people attach wanting people to believe in what they're doing. But if it's already healing people without that belief, that's enough.
It's
And I
enough.
think one thing that's beautiful about past life regression, honestly, the main thing is the fact that it does heal people in the here
Yes.
and now by going back. And like you said, Dr. Newton healed someone's knee, helped somebody heal their knee and
Mhm.
their throat just from going back. And I know how you go back and you relive that life and you see how you were, what you were, the event that caused you to carry that trauma into this current incarnation. And for people that are listening, honestly, it's so profound because by doing that, you are removing pieces of things that would limit you in this current life. And let's just explore a little bit because when I did my past life regression, I did it with one of Dr. Brian Wyas's students.
Yeah.
And we did a very in-depth regression. And I remember she said something along the lines of, "Oh no, she didn't tell me. I told her." I was like, I was a sex worker in that century, and was a life in which I wasn't really happy. But afterwards, I met someone that took me out of that life, and
Mhm.
sort of like the person was wealthy and well-to-do, and so my life completely transformed. And I remember her saying that, "Wow, that just means that in this life, no matter where you are, whatever you're suffering, you're going to get out of it. You're going to live a better life, and you're going to really bring change in your community." Because after leaving that life as a sex worker, I became a writer and I began like sharing spiritual messages. Unfortunately, I
Mhm.
was killed. Me and my husband were killed. It was through like slicing of the throat.
Mhm.
So that's why we're able to locate the fact that, oh yeah, this is why your throat chakra has been this way in this life. This is how we
Yep.
can heal it. And here
Yeah.
we are.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk fear. Have you ever experienced backlash or judgment for identifying as a witch? How do you handle that?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. It happened a lot more, like I said, when I was living in the South, obviously. But I still run into it here, and I get people that, especially online, I get a lot of, people that send scriptures or prayers or whatever, and I just tell them thank you, thanks for engaging, and I appreciate the energy that you're sending, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Like, I'm not catching anything that they're throwing. I make that choice. Like, it can just pass me by. They're sending me energy, and that was kind. They didn't have to spend their energy on me, so I'll take that. That's fine. But the implications of it and the resonance of it, I'll just adjust that to be something positive for myself.
I love your answer. And even like feeling you energetically, I feel that there's this beautiful detachment to all these things that could try to bring someone down that was still maybe new in the journey and
Sure.
possibly still cares about how they're perceived. Like, for example, I'm Nigerian. So, Nigerian culture is very traditional in a sense. So, being a tarot reader or even just talking about past
Mhm.
life regressions and everything is so, taboo.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it's like when I first started being a tarot reader in Lagos, I used to get a lot of messages and DMs of people like throwing insults or people wanting to get readings. And then when they get the reading, they start to insult me and all of that. And I never took any of that personally because I was like, you don't know the freedom that I have with identifying with this aspect of myself, especially coming from a culture that is just different from that. You don't know what there's a strength of self that you kind of embody when you're like, you know what, if this is who I truly am, I'm going to own it and I don't care what anybody says. And going
Yes.
back to tarot reading, I just got a call. Like I do dream work. So I just had this
Yeah.
dream to like do tarot readings. And I must tell you, from the beginning that I got my tarot cards, it was like I'd been doing that forever. And no one had to tell me that this was a past life
Yeah.
gift. It came so easily. I was like,
Yeah.
no, this is beyond me. I'm in this journey. I'm locked in. I don't care what anybody says. You guys don't know what I'm experiencing. I'm having a ball. Like life is amazing. So I love that because that detachment really just solidifies who you are as a person. You're like, thank you for sharing that. That's
Yeah.
fine. I'll go on about my business. So
Yes.
I admire that.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give someone who's drawn to the word witch but still feels nervous to claim it?
Find your audacity. That's your magic power right there, because that allows you to be out in the world and be who you are in the world. It's I make a joke of it, but it's not really a joke. I live by RuPaul's, standard of what other people think of me is none of my business, because it's true. They have absolutely the right to think whatever they want. But if I don't feel afraid of what I'm doing, I trust my intuition that I'm not going to step into anything that is going to harm me because I know myself. And I'm willing to be out in the world, even with people telling me, no, no, this is scary, or this is bad, or this is evil, or that you shouldn't. I have the audacity to exist anyway. So finding that is what I teach all of my clients. That is your superpower.
And
And
it's so,
find what resonates. When you go into a store and you see a sweater you like, you're like, oh, that feels like me. I like that sweater. That feels like me. This one doesn't, but this one does. It's the same thing with spirituality. It's the same thing with stepping into witchcraft. It's so broad. Feel what feels like you and take that and leave the rest for someone else.
yeah, that's beautiful advice, especially finding your audacity. When you first said it, it really resonated. There's so much that one can do when they're audacious because I
Yeah.
do find that, not to be, what's the right word, energetically classist, but those people that vibrate lower, they have more audacity than those that vibrate, or those that are more humble in a sense,
Mhm.
and I took inspiration from that. I was like, if someone that is on that energy level can be that audacious, I'm so sorry, I want to see what audacity looks like on me. So
Yes.
I do like that. Yeah.
Yes, it's because you're using it to further compassion, to further
Mm.
empowerment. You're using it for all the right reasons. So, yeah, we get to have the same tools.
Yeah. So true. So true. Let's talk paranormal life because when
Yeah,
I found out that you had a life of being a paranormal investigator, I was
yeah.
like, oh my goodness. So you've done paranormal investigation, which feels
Yes.
like the edge of the edge. Can you share a moment from your time as an investigator that really stuck with you?
So one of my two of my favorite moments happened at the same location. This place was extremely haunted. It was a 3-day. It was huge. There was 3 buildings and all the acreage of land, and we did a 3-day investigation. But in one of the houses when we did it, so EVP, or electronic voice phenomena, is when you catch something on a recorder that you can't hear audibly with a human ear. So 2 of those were my favorite moments. One of them was when I asked if anybody was in there with us and someone said no. Okay, well, they have a sense of humor, good to know. And then the other one that really threw my brain for a loop and had me reevaluating a lot of things was we were in the second building on that property, and we said, okay, so because we had like flashlights, we would, they could turn on the flashlights and all these different things. But we knocked on the wall and we said, okay, can you repeat this pattern? And we knocked 3 times. And on the EVP, you hear someone, 2 people talking, and someone goes, what was that? And the other person said, did you hear that? And when I'm listening back, I was like, are we the ghosts? What?
True.
You know? So that one really, like, made me reevaluate, okay, maybe it's just dimensions that are lined up next to each other and they are thinking we're the thing that's going bump in the night, you know? So yeah, it was a fascinating moment.
No, very exciting you just telling me the story, because now I'm thinking like life is not just what we see physically. There's so many dimensions, so many levels. Even people that have passed on are still around us. We just don't
Oh,
see them.
yes.
So what I love, and I'm not going to lie to you, just being able to hear the spirits that you can't hear with your normal ears, I think that's
Mhm.
powerful. The fact, and one thing I know is that spirits always have a sense of humor. They always have a sense of
Yes.
humor. I remember I downloaded this app. I think it's a Ghost Vox, so that I could hear like
Uh-huh. Yeah.
because there's this particular guy on TikTok that I used to see on my timeline. I don't see him anymore. He goes to graveyards and he has this like machine. I think he uses that app as well. That's what I heard. So he speaks to people that are there and they speak back.
Yes,
So
a ghost box, we used to use that.
yes, Ghostbox. It's so fun. So I downloaded the app, right? And I was in London at the time and I was in the park and I was like, I was just listening and I was like, oh gosh, I should stop being sad. And then the Ghostbox said, you should.
Mhm.
Can
Mhm.
you
Yep.
imagine?
They
They are
yes,
so funny. So
they
yeah,
are funny.
I thoroughly enjoy having like a conduit to be able to connect with
Yeah.
spirits. I
Yeah.
really enjoy it. There's just this, I don't know, it's something I feel in my heart chakra, just this thing of tapping into something beyond me. I think I'm very, very passionate about tapping beyond the physical,
Yes.
connecting beyond the physical. And when I took mediumship classes, I just loved the beauty of being able to be like, to get to a point where I could sit down and talk to someone and be like, you know what, do you need me to contact an ancestor that has passed away? I'm sure they'll be right here and I can talk to them. I just love that being a possibility. I love that being part of life. And that's why, yes, when you have that freedom of self and that strength in self and you're sure of this path, you don't care what people think, you don't care what people
Yeah.
say, you're just like, you guys don't know anything, this is a ball,
Right.
like life is so
Yeah.
interesting here, you know.
Right. It's never boring. You should come along with me for a day and see if it's really as bad as you think. Like, it's a lot of fun.
Honestly, yeah, it's so fun and I cannot even imagine. I'm sure you had so much fun being a paranormal investigator.
Yeah.
I cannot even
It
imagine.
was a lot of fun. It was also a lot of boring work. So you're
Hmm,
listening to 8 hours of audio, right, to get 2 or 3 good EVPs. Like, it's a lot of
true.
work, but it was fascinating, some of the things that we found, for sure.
Lovely, for sure. So, if someone listening is feeling pulled toward the mystical path but doesn't know where to start, what's the first small act of magic they can try today?
Sitting with the understanding that they're enough exactly as they are in this moment before they know anything else.
That's so beautiful. Because at the end of the day, I really feel that this part is really about being able to be comfortable with yourself, being able
Yes.
to know yourself, because we're so powerful. But
Mhm.
most times people don't tap into that depth of power. And
Yeah.
so they're most times afraid when they see other people tapped into it. That fear comes from lack of understanding, not necessarily, them feeling weird or strange about it. It's just because they feel some discomfort because they haven't reached that level or been able to tap into that aspect of themselves. That's my belief.
Yes. And a lot of people have been taught to not listen to their inner voice. We're taught to keep that quiet or silence that, or that's, it's something evil whispering to us and we need to overcome it. And no, that's you. You should listen to you before anyone else.
So true. And I think that's the key of this path as a witch, really intuition.
Yes.
Intuition, that's the main thing. That's the main sword. Last question.
Yeah.
What's lighting you up right now in your work?
Oh gosh. So I'm really enjoying the aura photography because what you just said about people not being aware of how powerful they are, watching the transformation of people that come to me and they're like making jokes of, oh, I bet it's going to be, all black like my soul and all of this. And, but then I put them in there and it comes out with this beautiful photo with these colors and I can interpret for them what these colors mean and they feel seen and they'll tell me, that's right on, that's exactly what's happening. And they feel seen and validated. And you can see them walk off and they're staring at the photo. and you can see them taking in how beautiful they are, maybe for the first time. And to me, it's just such an amazing physical. So much of what I do is not tangible. And so I'm really enjoying having this tangible piece, especially when I do like befores and afters. After, sound healing, I'll do photos before and photos after, and they can see the shift in their energy, or have them take a photo and then step aside and ground, or step aside and open your chakras and look at the difference. Like, it shows them how much power they really do have.
Thank you for sharing that with me. And thank you for being a guest on this podcast. I really love this conversation.
Yeah, me
Very
too.
concise, but we covered everything that I was so interested in learning from you. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing everything. Do you have any last words you'd like to leave with the listeners?
No, find your audacity. That's it.
Ooh, yes. Each time you say it, I keep saying, ooh, ooh. Like, thank you so much, Jenny. Have a lovely day. And
You're
listeners, if
welcome.
you'd love to know more about Jenny, check out my information box on this episode. You can find out everything you need to know about her and her hearth magic practice. Thank you. Talk to you
Thank
next
you.
time. Bye.